Peheoe. I'm coming to you today from Ka'u, Moku Okeawe, or Hawaii Island, the southernmost part of this island, with a story that came to me in the last couple of days, remembering back in 1992, 93 kind of time when Kay and I were staying in Keauhou Bay, and a man named Doug invited us to stay at his place to caretake when he goes to the other side of the island every weekend. His new neighbor, started to help himself every time he went over to the other side of the island. So he asked us to make a camp in the front yard, so we did. And yeah, so this is a story about after we settled in, and every day we had a routine. And every morning Kay would get up and make his coffee, and then I would make his breakfast of 6 eggs and bacon and rice, or Portuguese sausage, rice, and eggs. And Doug gave us a hose, and so I would squat. Kay taught me to squat. It's very important to learn how to squat, and I've been doing it for 30 years. This is something that local people used to do all the time. And so I would squat next to the faucet and wash our dishes. And then I would go for a walk, like I still do every day. And by the time I got down to the water where Kay was sitting, he would be sitting on the seawall. And the seawall had a 45-degree angle going towards the Aina, and right at that place there was a Keawe branch tree, Keawe tree, where he could tie his thrownet and repair his net. Kiloi, upena is the name of a thrownet. And so his kiloi upena would be hanging from the tree, and he would repair his net. And when he was pow with that, he would then start working on his new net. And so by the time I got there, he had used up the suji that was on the needles already, the monofilament. And so I would sit down behind him and start filling the needles with more suji. And he would always tell me some joke in the morning, right at first, to start the day, and then he would tell a story. And it was always filled with lessons, something to learn. And one of the things that he said to me was, no ask questions, pay attention. And so I really didn't understand what that meant at the time, but I understand now. I understand that he was paying attention to everything. The breeze, the wind on his cheek, the direction of the wind, what it felt like, what the tides were, what the ocean sounded like, the waves and the currents and tides, and he was paying attention to everything. And I've learned how to live like that too. And one of the things he said is, no ask questions. It's not our way. And our way is that you'll get your answers. They will be revealed to you if you're paying attention. And so he was showing me how to make a throw-net by doing it. And so I'd watch him make the knots, the 2 knots, over and over again, and until this certain time. And so we were, every day we were doing this, and one day we were sitting there, and then afterwards we would go walk along the seawall, and he had a special place where he had cut out branches in the tree, and he would sit up in the tree, and I would sit back and away from the fish being able to see me and my shadow. And he would be up in this tree, and he would be sitting there waiting for the fish to come in and throw his net from up there. And so we spent a lot of time watching the fish, Well, I didn't know what I was watching. I was just paying attention to everything else that was going on around us at first, until I learned. And I was also reading books that he gave me because he was wanting me to understand some things that I didn't understand yet. And then one day he says to me, okay, we go. And so we go walking around the seawall, and we get over to the beyond the bay, and the waves were crashing and crashing on the beach. Here comes Makani. And so we sat down on the spot, and we're watching the waves. And all of a sudden, Kay says to me, now, look inside the wave. And so I look inside the wave, and I was like, oh, there they are. I see him. I see the fish. And I was like a little kid. It was so exciting. The wave was filled with uwawo. It's a certain kind of fish that we love to eat. And little did I know that I was passing a test in that moment. And so we get back to the camp, and that night he says to me, you know, you saw the fish. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, now you can begin to learn how to sew the net, the kiloi upena. And so I was pretty excited about that. And so he said, now first you need to make a needle, and we need to get bamboo. And so it was a couple weeks later maybe, and we went and took a trip up to Honoka, and we went to the spot where he always found his bamboo. But we go to that place, and there is no bamboo. There are houses with green grass, and there were no trees. There was no jungle. There was nothing. There was no bamboo. And we ran into this wahine who explained to us that this had become a subdivision a couple of years earlier. And so disappointed, we went back home, and I didn't ask any questions like I was told. No ask questions, pay attention, and you will see. And so a couple weeks later, maybe even a month later or something, this man drives down to Keoho Bay, and his back of his truck he had filled with bamboo, and he was giving it away. And so he asked us if we wanted some of the bamboo, and Kay took some, and other people took more, and this man was building a fence, and he took the rest. And now we had the bamboo. And so pay attention again. And Kay showed me how to cut my needles. And I still have those needles. Some of them are pretty fragile at this point, but I still have those needles. And anyway, so I learned how to make my needle. And then we got the suji to start making the net. And that's when I started learning. I had remembered from watching him what I needed to do and how to make the knot. And so we made that net. I made that net. And then one day this man stopped by, and he saw this net, and he said, I want that net. And so that was my responsibility, was to give it away. And so I gave away that net to that man, and he taught his son how to fish with that kiloi upena. And that was the beginning, and I've made several nets in my lifetime. And over the years, I've had a car accident, different things happened in my life, and I wasn't able to. I had back problems, and I wasn't able to sew for a while. I had a horseback riding accident back in 1990 before I came here, and my back pretty much acted up years later. And then I had a car accident, and then I got treatment. And so my back is, I have to be careful, but is in much better shape than it was. And so I've been selling our artwork down at the market. lately, last couple of weeks, at Keoho Farmers Market and Farmers and Craft Market on Fridays, and it just instinctively decided that I was bringing the thrownet material with me. And I sat down and I started. And I got it all prepared. And then I was like, how do I begin? And so I said to my hands, I know you remember. And they did. I started sewing. And I got into the groove of sewing. And it was so peaceful and so wonderful. It was so wonderful to be doing that again. And I know there are not a lot of Kanaka that wish they could live that life too, of like, and we all wish we could live that life all the time, of sitting and sewing that and then going and gathering our food every day. Things have changed here. We can't do it every day. Very rarely can we do it every day. Sometimes circumstances are such that we have to do that every day. It all depends. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful life to be able to sit and weave your net. And in those moments when I'm sitting there and I'm weaving the net, I can just be in the center of it all. I can hear everything that's going on. I can feel it. I can feel the wind. I know what time of day it is by where the sun is, and it's a very peaceful state. And it's something that all of us, all of our ancestors have done from whatever culture we come from. Weaving is part of the journey, and making nets. And yeah, it just awakens the ancestral knowledge in our bones that's still there. And I'm so grateful to have learned this skill. And yeah. Okay, that's it for today's story. I hope you like that story. It fills my heart remembering this story. Okay, ahui ho. Have a beautiful day.